Never had that before. It's always been rock salt. I mean, the second time, I guess we got to use the toilet because the first time was in Japan. God, got to watch TV for the first time. We stayed with our sponsor for about 7 days. We went to our first picnic. I remember my brother and sisters and I ate so much that we could barely breathe. I remember going to our first grocery shopping. I've never seen so much food in my entire life, and kept asking where the heck was all this when I was growing up. And then a week later, we moved into our first apartment complex in Tempe, Arizona. And I went to Do Elementary School. But the first week, we found out there was a Cambodian family just like us, 3 doors down. They had a girl's bicycle, a pink one with 1 pedal. I learned how to ride that bicycle. A week later, I learned how to ride a bigger bicycle. A week later, I began dumpster diving. My sister and I would go at 6 o'clock in the morning with a 50-gallon bag, going to this big apartment complex nearby. In fact, we just went back and took pictures about a year and a half ago where we were. And we would go in and dumpster dive and we would look for cans. Well, I've always been the street smart in my family. I would make my sister jump in a big garbage can, right? And she would pick all the cans and throw them back out, and I put them in a bag. And then what we try to do is we look for cans that hasn't been crushed yet. So what we do is we bring them back, and then I make all my brothers and sisters line them all up in the back in our backyard. It's all red clay, and I make everybody scoop all the little red clay and put that in the can. And then I spray water on it, and then I make everybody crush it. Why do you think I do that?
The weight.
Yep.
The weight. Okay? All right? So that's how you do it. All right? If you want to make more money, that's how you do it. All right? I'm not telling you to do that. Okay? But you have to understand where we came from, right? Survival of the fittest. Everything in my life has always been about survival of the fittest. My mom even said, she said, when we were in the slave labor camp during Philippines, Cambodia, by the time they passed out the ration, I've already stolen enough for the whole entire family. I just knew what to do and where to get it all my life. Wow. But we did that, and we finally, we did that for a few months, and I finally a month later, got to go to school for the first time. I remember the first day. You know, when you got here in the United States of America, by the way, they gave you this thing called resident alien card. And truly, I looked like an alien. I went to school with the baggy shorts, baggy shirt, flip-flops. It's hot as heck, right? First of all, when you arrive in Arizona, the first day it was 118 degrees. Like, just got a jacket. This is great, perfect. Worked out really well. So you go to school for the first time. And I don't know, well, first of all, they took me out of class. My first class, they took me to an ESL class, and they showed me a picture of Apple, and they said, say Apple. I don't know what they said, I just said Apple. So all right, that's how I figure Apple, that was an apple. And it was lunchtime now, and I don't know what the teacher said. I didn't understand a word of English. So everybody went to the bathroom, so I just went to the bathroom where everybody else. Next thing you know, I looked around like, oh, how come it's all girls in here? Am I the smartest guy? Not, right? So I was so embarrassed. My face all flushed red. I ran out and got back in line. Now you're going all the way to the cafeteria, waiting in line. I kind of remind me of like a lot of students like at Maryland, Sharon, because immigrants, right? So you get in line, and they give you the tray and the fruit cups. I remember, I'll never forget, I looked around and I go, okay, how do you get a fork when you don't know how to say fork, right? It's almost like saying, hey, call 1-800-READ when you can't read, right? So I'm like, okay, so I looked around and I'm like, all right, who got the fork, who got the spoon? I'm trying to be street smart, can't find it. All right, I'm eating with my fingers. That's what I did, my first meal at school. We lived in Tempe, Arizona for about 9 months, and my family immigrated to Stockton, California. My dad bought his first car and drove a Ford Fairmont 4-door, eggshell color. We drove it all the way to Stockton, California. And I remember stopping by Charterway, which is not a good area now. and got picked up by our friends, and we lived there for a few years until I moved here about 12 years ago. But here's what happened once we got in Stockton. My dad became a gambling and an alcoholic. My mom used to go with him all the time to travel the country just to gamble. So basically, it left my siblings and I, 5 of us, to fend for ourselves. So I began going to school in my 3rd grade. I still talk to my 3rd grade teacher today. And I still have a dictionary I stole from 3rd grade today because I couldn't find the word each other. But I learned, I said, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I learned how to forge my dad's signature since 3rd grade all the way until I was 18 years old. So I signed all my own paperwork. Then I go from 3rd grade. I went to 4th grade. I said, you know what? I'm going to skip 5th grade. I'm going to sign myself 6th grade, see what's going to happen. Believe it or not, guess what happened?
6th grade.
They let me in. So in 6th grade, remember my birthday got changed, right? 11/11/76, but that's not my real birthday. 72, but I did not know what month and year. So I met my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Cardoza, who I still talk to today as well, and I went back years later to work at her school. I met my 6th grade teacher, so I went to 3rd, 4th, I skipped 5th, I went to 6th grade. And then I got in 6th grade for 2 months. She goes, you know, you seems a little more mature than the rest of the students. I go, with my broken English, I said, you're absolutely right. I'm older. She goes, how old are you? I goes, I'm 4 years older. And she said, what year were you born? I was born in 1972. She goes, what month? At that moment, here's what I did. And it's still stuck on my ID today. I said 6/6/72. I picked 6/6/72 because if you pick the middle of the year, you can't go wrong. But the mere fact that I did that, I'm going to retire 6 months early, just so you know. So it's pretty good. So at that moment, I was able to convince my teacher with my broken English that I was actually older. I have no other record other than what I came with 11/11/76. So she told the principal about what happened. They moved me up to 7th grade. So they said, if you do really well in 7th grade, we're going to move you up to 8th grade. 4 months later, I went to 8th grade. Went to 8th grade for 2 months. I went to 9th grade. Now, in the whole entire time, while I'm going through school, I worked in the fields with the Mexican Hispanics. I worked all the way to Oregon as a child laborer in the field. I would make $20 to $25 a day, but my dad would go with us. He taught us how to gamble, how fortunate I am. And we lost everything that we had. But I kept going through school. By my junior year, I've always been an overachiever. I said, I'm going to make this happen. I already had 270 credit when I only needed 230. I graduated early from high school. And I found out when I was 16 years old, I said, oh my God, I took a civics course, and I go, from this police captain who turned out to be a chief of police in Lodi later. And I said, you know what, I want to be a police officer. And you know why I want to be a police officer? Because they were talking so much about excitement. I'm like, man, kick ass and take names. I could do this. You know what I didn't realize? I didn't realize that you had to take a written test to get in. Holy shit, it was in English. Yeah, foreign language to me, right? So I kept taking a test. I couldn't pass it. So I said, all right, street smart kicks in. First of all, at the age of 16, I got my first job at McDonald's. I did not know what a cheeseburger was. 6 months later, I became Employee of the Month. I knew everything about that McDonald's in the store, from the cashier to maintenance guy to everything. I want to learn everything. So, 16. I want to be a police officer. I kept taking a test. I said, you know what? I'm going to apply everywhere where I could take a test. I went to Santa Cruz. Everywhere. And I still can't pass the test. It's all in English. Nothing's changed. I never discovered a thesaurus until I was in college. I was like the child in the allegory of the cave. It's crazy. I didn't know what I didn't know. But I said, I'm going to determine to pass the damn test. So what I do is I came up with an idea. I said, you know what? They gave us 3.5 hours to take the damn test, 100 questions, right? So there's always going to be extra time. So I take a pen and paper with me to go take the test. And every time I take the test from this point forward, I'm going to study and study and study and memorize the whole damn thing. And I'm always the last one to turn in a test. And once I turn in a test, I run to the bathroom, I start writing down everything I could remember. From sentence structure to vocabulary to everything else I need to know. I started collecting data. Street smart kicks in. And I said, I'm determined to pass this test. And my 4th year, I passed it by 3 points. And I got into my police academy. I didn't know what that's all about. I'm like, what, you have to have a uniform? So I had to borrow a uniform. I have no idea what that was. It was a leftover uniform from the previous classes. I had a full-time job, and I was going to a police academy at nighttime. I was 21 years old at that time. So remember, I graduated early from 17 years old all the way to 21, about 4 years before I passed the written test. And I got in. I worked full-time, I got in, and 3 months before I graduated from the police academy, I got into a fight playing basketball because I was kicking this guy's butt. And he decked me from behind, and I got in a big fight with him. A few days later, his house got shot at. A few days later, my windows got broken into. 2 weeks goes by, his house got shot at again. 2 weeks goes by, my house got broken into again. So I got out of the police academy one night at 11 o'clock. I got off at 10, and at 11 o'clock I got a knock on the door. Now, I forgot to tell you, by this time I already became a police cadet, and I got promoted to being a police officer, reserve police officer, which is the same position as a police officer. I just don't get paid. Full uniform, gun, badge, no 9 yard. Pass the background, everything else. And living in the ghetto of Stockton. So now